Hey guys, what's happening? Thanks for tuning in, coming back, watching, hanging out, just chilling with me. I appreciate it. Hope you're having fun. I'm in Luminar 4 and I'm just doing something different. And that's one of the things I like about Luminar 4 is that it causes me sometimes to just kind of get creative and do things that I wouldn't normally think to do. I do a lot of videos that are basically like, here's how you do this specific thing, or here's how this feature works, or this function. But this one's just different. This is just Jim just kind of hacking around, getting creative, and just something I came up with. And if you like this sort of thing, give me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Give the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And those kind of things just let YouTube know that you like what I'm doing. And I hope you do. So thanks for coming back. And if you're new, thanks for showing up. Okay, so here's my photo. This was something I shot in a little town called Oatman, Arizona, at the start of Route 66 on the kind of the border between California and Arizona. So I was just driving around. I stopped and walked around this little town with my camera, and it was morning, late morning, bright light. It's just a weird town. They got donkeys walking around. You see this donkey here. They're just like literally wandering up and down the street. It's kind of weird, but it was fun and interesting and different. So I took photos. It wasn't, here's my amazing photo because look at this fabulous place. It was just, this is quirky. This is America. This is kind of fun. So I took photos. But when I came to edit it, I looked at the photo and I was like, it's not exactly an exciting photo. It's kind of boring. And I wanted to make something that was different. I wanted to make something that was a little bit like an Old West kind of look. So after a bit of experimentation, I turned it into that. And that's very much to me like an Old West, almost like it's been colorized, kind of just different, creative look. And if you've seen any of my videos, I like kind of the big, bold colors. And I do a lot of that kind of stuff. But in this video, I just wanted to do something different. So hope you enjoy it. Let's get started. Okay, first things first is a crop, and that was just me turning this into a 16:9 crop. So easy peasy, we're done. Okay, and then obviously you notice that there was a texture in the sky, and that was the only place that the texture existed. And so because the AI sky replacement will automatically detect the sky, you don't have to put a sky in it. And I've done this in other videos, but I wanted to do it again. So I'm gonna load a custom sky, get grungy wall, which is just a sky that I have of my own in my little texture. Sorry, not a sky, a texture that I have in my own little texture pack. Stick it on there, and I think I take the exposure down just a tiny bit. And that's really it. I just basically stuck a texture in place of the sky, which I think helps kind of accentuate that kind of Old West look, and it's kind of got some warmth to it as well, so I felt like it went well with the foreground building and the light that's on it. Okay, and then the next thing I do is I pop back around, and this is something that I thought was interesting about my creative steps here, and that is I didn't follow my normal pattern. My normal pattern is to start with light on the Essentials tab and kind of go through and see what I want, and then go to Creative and maybe sometimes go to Portrait, depending on the photo, and then go to Pro, and I typically do that kind of in order. But I didn't do that at all here, so I bounced around quite a bit, which is another nice thing about Luminar. You're not necessarily forced or married to a particular process. You can just kind of bounce around as you please. So I started with a new sky because I wanted to get that on. Then I went to black and white conversion. Went ahead and hit convert to black and white. However, I didn't really want it to be fully black and white. So I went into the saturation of the red and the yellow, and I brought them up to about 54, 55, something like that. I'm just trying to bring a little bit of color back into the image and kind of get the foreground and texture to kind of have a little bit of that warmth that was existing in the previous version. Okay, then I do hop down to Details Enhancer, and here medium details I took up to like mid-20s, maybe high 20s, something 28, let's call it. Again, just creating a little bit of detail in the photo because I think it goes with the scene. And let's face it, I don't really care if their detail or noise kind of shows up in the sky here. It's already got a texture on it, so I'm not worried about masking it in specifically to the building. I'm just slapping it across the entire photo. Okay, and now I do pop up to light, and here I do go a little bit warmer actually, so something about like that. And again, just warming up the whole photo, just trying to get the tones and the kind of the temperature, I guess, to kind of be just to make sense, I guess, for lack of a better word. So I felt like it was a little bit cool. That texture was showing a little bit of gray-blue in the sky, and it still is some, but I feel like warming it up a little bit helps. In fact, I might go a little bit warmer, something about like that. And then I'm taking Smart Contrast. I'm going to bump that to about 50 or so. And again, just trying to create some contrast because I felt like the image was a little bit flat. And then I'm also going to take the highlights down a little bit, maybe like mid-40s or so. maybe something like that, like 47, let's call it. Again, this is all just me just kind of messing around. There's not like, here's specifically what you have to do to your photos, because every photo is going to be different. These are the settings that I landed on, but it's all seasoned to taste. Okay, now I jump back to the creative tab, and here I want to get dramatic. And I'm going to go like maybe 25 or something like that on dramatic. So nothing major, just giving it a little bit of kick. Again, that's bringing up some of the detail and the drama, I guess, in the wood structure. I just like that it kind of makes that pop. So it kind of worked for me. And the other thing is, honestly, as I was making this photo, I was kind of experimenting with filters or tools that I don't really use a whole lot. I don't use dramatic a whole lot, but it's a great and interesting one, and so I wanted to do that. And so that was another reason I pulled dramatic in here, just to add a little bit of extra oomph or kick to the photo. Okay, and then in keeping with the theme of using tools that I don't use a whole lot, I went for the matte look. And here I went to like, maybe mid 30s and then a fade of about 50 or so. And, here's the deal is I landed on all these, as I said earlier, just through experimentation and just kind of playing around. And it's simply because I was just trying stuff and playing around. So I encourage you to do the same. Try these different tools like dramatic or matte look, or, whatever it may be, light, detail, dramatic, whatever it is, and just experiment on your photos, play around, because every photo is going to be different. Everything is going to give you a little bit different look. So again, I'm walking you through my steps here, but I don't want to make it sound like you have to go to 35 on amount with a matte look, and 50 on fade. It's just experimentation. The other thing I did here was I took the saturation up just a tiny bit to about 60, and that's trying to keep some of that warmth in there, because the matte look obviously fades out a little bit, and I increased the fade. And then the dramatic tends to kind of increase some of the harshness of the photo, which I felt like it lost the color a little bit. So I'm just bringing that back a tiny bit, and I'll do some more things in a minute to enhance that color. And speaking of which, here in the color toning section of the matte look filter, I went on range to like 55, 57, something like that. And a hue of like, 17, I think it was, something like that, kind of in the orangey realm. Just again, creating a little bit of that warmth and just trying to apply it globally across the photo, just to keep that feel, that Old West, almost a little bit of a sepia look in this photo, just trying to keep that alive and keep it present across the photo. And again, totally just experimentation. Okay, and then I went over to LUT. Again, I like LUTs. I did a video about LUTs you can check out there, and there's some cool stuff you can do with them. In this case, I just clicked through until I found this one, Ushuaia. I don't know what it is. I'm sure it means something to somebody. I have no idea what it is. And then I went pretty high in the amount, like 65 or something. And again, kind of faded, a little bit of warmth. I don't know. It just seemed to go. In many ways, I'm building like one of those old Western kind of looks. It's an old Western town on Route 66, middle of nowhere. I don't know. It just seemed to go. So I applied that LUT and just dragged it fairly high just to accentuate that look. Okay, and then we're popping over here to the Pro tab, and I'm going into Color Enhancer. And if you missed it, there's a video I just did about Color Enhancer. Super powerful, super amazing. One of my favorite things to experiment with in Luminar. So if you haven't checked that video out, please do, and let me know what you think about it. It's a fabulous tool, and I think you'll really love it. Okay, first thing I did was brilliance and warmth. And so I went to like 30 or so on the brilliance and about 20 or so on the warmth. And that's bringing back some of that warm tone and helping me to kind of accentuate those warmer tones in the photo. I just like the look, so I experimented a little bit until I got to what I wanted. I didn't want to overdo the color or make it too vivid or vibrant or saturated, because I wanted it to be kind of an Old West, kind of faded, almost like a colorized old black and white photo that's been colorized. But I wanted to bring back some warmth and brilliance, and that's what that did for me. And that also means that I brought up the warmth down here in split color warmth. I went to like 18. And then for cool, I went to about 54. And again, in that video about color enhancer that I did, what you'll know is if you're dragging the warm slider to the right, it'll actually increase the warm tones. Whereas if you drag the cool slider to the right, it actually kind of neutralizes them. And that helps me get rid of some of that grayish blue that's in that texture, which is prevalent in the sky. So let me show you a color enhancer overall. There's the before, a little bit less colorful, a little bit more gray. You can see more of that blue in the sky. And there's the after, much warmer to me. It has a lot more of the look that I'm going for. And now I'm popping over to photo filter, again, keeping with the theme of, hey, these are things I don't use on every photo. I don't, other than color enhancer, of course, but like photo filter and dramatic and matte look and things like that, I don't use a lot, and that's part of the fun of Luminar. As I said, so many tools, so many cool things you can do. Here I am in photo filter, and in this case, I took the amount up to like 9 or 10, and the hue to something like, 25, 28, something like that. Again, I'm just kind of keeping with the warm theme, and that really got me to my finished photo. The only two other things I did, actually. Number one, I went and got the eraser, and I took out these telephone wires and poles because, as you probably know from previous either experience with or watching my videos with the sky replacement, things like that are solid, that are in the sky, are going to stay there. So it didn't cover up those poles. So I went in with the eraser and clone and stamp and got rid of those poles because I didn't want to see them. It sort of took away from the vintage feel that I had going in the photo. But the other thing I did was I went up here to layers, and if you watch my Luminar 4.1 video update, which I'll put there, you can see I took the adjustment amount down. So at 100, it actually looks like that. I took it down to like 83 or mid 80s, and that's simply because I felt like at 100, let me show you 100 again. It was a little too saturated, a little too warm, so I just wanted to tone it down. And that's basically like filters amount used to be on any particular layer in Luminar 3. It just allows you to take this layer and globally just take every adjustment and slide it down a little bit. You're basically reducing the opacity of those. So I'm just decreasing the intensity of everything I just did. And that's what that adjustments amount did. And that's my finished photo. So there's my before. Now again, that's post crop, but I just took out that foreground because it was a little too boring and empty. And really, I'm just looking at that old beat up building, which is kind of cool. And there's the after. Now, I had to redo the photo or reset all my adjustments to redo it. So in other words, I lost my clone and stamp and eraser work that got rid of these poles. But as I showed you in the initial photo, I took care of that. So that's the difference between the this version and the final, is just those poles are not there in the final. But there you go. There's a sliding window adjustment, whatever you want to call it, between the original and the current state. And that's my kind of vintage, creative, old west, kind of old school look. I'm just having fun. That's part of the great thing about Luminar. You're just encouraged, I think, with all the great tools to go do fun stuff and try it out. I hope you like it. It's totally not my normal style, but I have to admit, I love doing creative things, and this fell right into that bucket for me. So thanks a lot for watching. Please do share, subscribe, like, comment. Let me know what you think about it. Give it a thumbs up. See you really soon, my friends. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Take care, and adios.